Well, that was Start the Sirens, who are going to be playing in Trowbridge on the 29th of October with their Halloween extravaganza. And I promised you a session and a bit of an interview and a chat with Jake Metcalfe earlier. And without further ado, here it is. Here we are, ensconced in the shed of dubious endeavour, and it's my great pleasure to welcome Jake Metcalfe to the shed. Hi, Jake.
Hello, you alright?
Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. Pleased to be in your wonderful shed.
Yeah, no, it's a real pleasure to have you. I mean, I've been playing your tunes for probably since we started this show, I think, when, back in the mists of time when Joe was involved as well. And, it's always been a kind of an ambition, get you down to have a bit of a chat and to play some music. So I guess my listeners might know some of the things you do, but for the benefit of those who don't, you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I've been writing songs for since I'd say about 2016 now, but with only 2 albums to show for it, just home recording type bits. So yeah, I'm just into writing songs and poems as well. I've got a few little creative projects on the side to keep me busy.
Well, I guess that opens up all sorts of questions. I mean, I remember you saying that you've been getting more into your poetry recently. So yeah. The kind of songs that you write, what comes first? Is it the words or the music?
That's a good question. I think writing poems can act as sort of springboards sometimes for songs. I feel like they can morph into one another. In fact, one of the ones that I'm going to play started that way. During the lockdown haze, I'd been reading a lot of Rilke, if you know of his work. He was a German modernist. He died nearly 100 years ago, but he wrote some pretty good stuff. And anyway, I had this poem, and I was writing this chord progression, and I just felt like they were twins of one another, so it fell easily quite into place. That sometimes happens.
Yeah, well, as I was going to say, I mean, is that what's the songwriting process like for you? Is it a case of things just sort of falling into place like that, or?
Yeah, quite a bit. It's kind of potluck, I think. I play a lot in open tunings and stuff. In fact, I think pretty much all the songs on both of the last 2 albums of home recordings were all in different tunings, which can make it a bit of a nightmare I shot myself in the foot a little bit when it comes to playing out and about, I suppose. So I kind of tune up and just find a sound that suits the mood and go with that.
Do you tend to do much live performance?
Not as much as I would like to or should do. I think it's been something I've been been considering for a while. I know they do a thing in Trowbridge at the Lamb, the Village Pump.
Yeah. I mean, Kieran at Sheer Music, he's been very busy in the last couple of years trying to sort of get the scene up and running and sort of pumping in Trowbridge. And he's always on the lookout for good local acts, I think.
Yeah, I can see there is one. I'm just waiting to find my way in. I ought to get down sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I'm sure he'd love to hear and see what you do. Right, well, do you want to kind of maybe just give us a tune then?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
In fact, just to tell us about what the origins or the story behind it.
Yeah, this is the most recent thing I probably wrote. It's just an instrumental. Called The Littering Leaves. And I don't know how it really came about, really. It was a bit of a thaw in my songwriting, I suppose. It's instrumental, but it was nice to write something again after quite a while away from it.
Excellent. Well, good. A lot of the musicians I know had kind of real creative difficulties, I think, over the last few years for reasons that are probably too obvious to mention.
Yeah, it was a haze.
Yeah. No, it does seem very sort of surreal, the whole thing now, looking back. Okay, so this is Littering Leaves.
Yeah, that's right.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I feel so kind of privileged to just be sort of sat here as your kind of solitary audience.
Cheers, first take. Can't believe it.
Well, no, it's fantastic. Well, I did wonder if you were going to have noticed something in there that I hadn't, and thought it needed doing again. No, it's brilliant. I mean, I must admit, as a kind of a fellow guitarist, I'm kind of very much in awe of your sort of your picking technique. It's so kind of clean and precise.
That's what I aim for. It's listening to a lot of Nick Drake for so many years. I think it's kind of getting that metronome in my bones. I learned to play a lot of his songs. And
well, I guess I could probably sort of sit here and tell you what I think you sound like. But I mean, where do your kind of influences come from? Do you think?
Well, I like to listen really widely. I mean, I'd say I'm a huge Dylan fan above all else, but I'm not sure if that seeps in so much. But Nick Drake and
no, that's not Dylan.
No,
it's guitar playing, is it?
No, not so much. But yeah, no, John Martin, I'm a big fan.
Okay.
Bert Jansch, a lot of those 60s folk revival type people, but Mark Kozelek especially, Sun Kil Moon, massive fan. Yeah. People say, "Oh, that sounds like Mark Kozelek," and my girlfriend does. I'm like, "Cheers."
Yeah, well, it's nice to get that sort of validation, isn't it? So, I mean, how did you start off playing? You know, was there a sort of a pivotal moment where you saw or heard something and thought, "That's what I want to do"?
Quite possibly. I mean, I remember my dad got me a charity shop guitar beat up thing, and my cousin taught me a few chords. So I cut my teeth on like a lot of Noel Gallagher type songs, and it was Nick Drake. I think I just kind of blew the locks off, and I was like, "That sounds great." So I ditched the plectrum and went fingerstyle.
Right, so you're totally plectrum free.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I wish I could play with the plectrum in some ways because you can get like a much cleaner tone. But yeah, pretty much these days.
I guess there's that kind of hybrid sort of flat picking where people sort of have a pick between their first finger
Richard Thompson style.
Yeah.
Love that.
Do you want to give us another song?
Yeah, sure. I'll have to tune up because it's in a slightly different tuning.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. Okay. I guess sort of in the olden days, in the sort of folk clubs of the 70s, people were sort of forever retuning between songs, and for some people, I think they sort of tell jokes or talk in between, and for some people, I think the talking and the jokes kind of got more laughs than
in many
music.
ways. Sure.
And this is where people like sort of Billy Connolly and Jasper Carrott. All sort of. In fact, when Jasper Carrott used to do his TV show, at the very end he'd do his kind of his folk club act, and he'd come out with the guitar on, and he'd almost play a song, but not quite. He'd sort of strum a chord. And another thing.
And then like 10-15 minutes have gone by, you know.
That's right.
Yeah, I think there's some great videos of John Martin really and doing the same. He breaks the string, you know, halfway through a song or whatever, and well, not halfway through, at the beginning of a song, and it's a thing in itself to behold.
I loved his is it 7 Black Roses?
Yeah, for his first album. That's amazing. I love that.
But because he's sort of sliding the cap up and down.
That was his response to Angie, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
That's such a great. Do you want to hear a bit of Sunflower River just for you? Yeah, this is John Fahey's Sunflower River Blues.
was fantastic. I could just sit here and listen to this all afternoon, I think.
Cheers.
That's amazing.
Good tune.
And I think I kind of picked up a few of the bits of the fingering there, which is always handy. So you kind of mentioned that I think you said you've been getting into more poetry than music these days.
Yeah, it's kind of eclipsed it in some ways. I'm trying to find a balance.
But what kind of created the sort of the change? Why do you think you moved that way?
I think I've always had an interest in poetry right from when I was young. My mum was quite into it and stuff. But then I decided I wanted to start trying to write it as well, and I'm part of the Trowbridge Stanza group.
Okay.
We get together once a month and it's really good. There's some really good poets down there and give readings and different themes and that sort of thing.
Actually, you know that West Wilts Radio does a poetry show?
I do, I am aware of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Dawn, if you're listening, you need to speak to Jake and get him in to do a session. I think.
That'd be grand, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are the sort of plans for the future? Do you think that the poetry will take over, or do you think it will become sort of bedded into the music at a later date?
I'd like to self-publish a book at some point. That is something on my to-do list one day. I've got quite a lot of poems together now, so it's not something that's out the bounds of possibility. But I definitely want to carry on with the music. I'll always have the impulse to keep writing, I think, definitely.
Oh, brilliant. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of musicians that I really admire who are essentially poets, who end up kind of, putting their words to music.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, once people are, depending on the kind of the style of the music, if people are listening to the singer, then, the music can often sort of sit in the background a bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree.
Well, did you bring any poems with you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I've got a couple of poems.
Yeah. Do you mind sharing them?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, one of them's about work, which I write a lot of work poems, and the other one's a little bit different to that.
Okay.
But yeah, this one is called Lunch Break, and I wrote it on my break at work. Excellent.
So you got paid for it?
Well, yeah, I suppose so in some ways.
It's all right. We won't disclose who your employers are.
I drive a forklift in a hardware store.
Cool.
There's not many, so I guess which one. So that's what I do, and it can be quite busy. So this poem was it came about because I was trying to wrestle a moment's clarity out of quite a frenzied day.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and read that if that's all right.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, it's called Lunch Break. These days, from the dingy canteen's faded window, I watch the winds at play in the tops of the towering pines. Heaped about them at their bases by the frail wire fence smothered with leaves is the jumbled plastic mass of white paint tubs, each one brimming with blackened rainwater going slowly green. Their dark stilled surfaces are disturbed when winds shimmer the sky's bright reflection in them, spilling the rounded ripples over the rims in a stream of supple cascades that pour forth a slick of slime and scum. The wind-entangled pines sway in slow-motion movements beneath December's paling sky. Cold soil darkens where the black water seeps, now the winds have ceased with flowing. The liquid plain is laid again like glass inside the tubs, a little clearer than before, a drop of peace within my rest.
Fantastic.
Cheers, mate.
It's evocative stuff. I mean, I never knew DIY could be so conjure up such amazing images.
Yeah, can do. You just got to be there to notice it, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I guess so. And that's, I mean, what kind of really amazes me on Sounds from the Wilderness is that there's just so much creative art being made. Literally, I mean, people like yourselves kind of in bedrooms and on lunch breaks. It's people on stages, it's people all over the place, and it's it's amazing to live amongst such a kind of a fertile community of artists and musicians.
Yeah.
So it's brilliant. Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, we've had a bit of a chat, and maybe if you just want to kind of finish us off with another song, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, sure thing.
I'll let you introduce it.
Okay, this is Skies and You, and this was written during the lockdown haze.
it's just such a privilege to be sat here listening to you playing such wonderful music.
Cheers, Mick.
Well, thank you very much for coming along today and playing some tunes and reciting some poems for us. I guess all your stuff's up on your Bandcamp, is it?
That's right. Yeah, it's on Bandcamp and all major streaming platforms as well.
Excellent. Well, there you go. That's the advertising done. But no, seriously, guys, if you haven't got any of his stuff, then I can't remember how much it cost me, but I'm sure it's very reasonable.
Yeah.
But get along there and download it and support your local artists.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. Thanks for the opportunity.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for coming. Well, keep us updated on what you're up to as well. It'd be wonderful to get you in again.
Yeah. Cheers. I'd love to come back. Yeah. Cheers.
Right, well, that was Jake Metcalfe, and we're kind of pretty much at the end of the show now. We've got about 5 minutes left or so, and Hawkwind featuring Bath's Richard Chadwick, they've got a new album out called...